Ooh, that's a rough place to start. Wait, hold on. All right, so uh, what is this even about, man? Just an apology? I don't want to apologize. I've been doing hard work. So, all right, let's get right into it. So, my book, a lot of good work has been contemplated. A little bit of it has been written down. A few things have been lined up, and I've really made the focus on overview, a brief overview. That was always something that I did a lot of, where my overview would cover one section and just be very detailed, and then I can go in and I can fill that out. Very, very easy, but I gotta get away from that. I gotta get to the point where it's just um, an overview of whether it's 5 to 10 pages moving forward. So to say, this is what I want here, this is what I want here, just slapping that down, and then I can fill in a little bit more and then a little bit more and go over things like that. That's what I got to start getting more into, because there are a lot of things that are now um, connecting the time together. Just how much space is required for any particular chapter to tell whatever story I'm telling. I don't know. But at this point, things are spiraling. By this point, it's like, there's so many characters that are just chomping at the bit to get some more like time with their stories and how they'll interact with other people and things like that. And um, there's a lot of that. So uh, as far as the actual written on the page stuff goes, well, a little trickier. That's a little bit tougher. I've been focusing on finding work so I can pay my phone bill and keep things going. It's my only bill. I don't have a lot of bills or anything like that. So that and my music, those are two things that are required. And so it's been a lot of just canvassing out, seeing what works for me, and what I can do. Whatever job I now actually, as of like 10 minutes ago, I got a new job. That's fantastic. So I'm back to working again, but unlike the last one, it was tricky because for the last 3 or 4 months, I was working 11 hours a day. That's in addition to about another 3 hours, about an hour and a half each way for taking the bus. Um, there's not a lot of time for sleep, not a lot of time for getting things done, even on the bus, where certain times it could be, just you sit there, you ain't doing nothing for about an hour. You might as well write. It wasn't like that. I would get on the bus and I put my head against the window and I would immediately like, pass out. And there's like certain big bumps before I get to my destination. So I'll be there and all of a sudden it's like, okay, okay, I'm here. I'm at work. And I was doing that for about 6 to 7 days a week. I was open to close every single day that I worked, and they just kept firing more and more people. And I was like, it's hard to be a manager when you keep firing all of my employees. What's happening? So yeah, it was that kind of situation. So back to actually writing, the idea of having a job that's going to give me significantly less hours, but it's going to be more by the books. The problem with my last job was a little bit suspicious, the way they were working. You know what? I'll get into this. I'll get into this right there. They changed me from hourly to salary because they couldn't pay me enough. Tell me you've heard that before, where a company went up to you and they were like, "Hey, you're making way too much fucking money here, bro. Like, you got to do something about this." Because not only was I doing the hours, but I was also getting commission, and with so many hours, I was top of the sales. So, in the last 30 days of every day that I've been there, I was always like 25, 30 grand. And so, the commission on that was looking pretty good. And the one manager I was working with, she went on vacation, and the other dude was just scummy, man. He would hand me a paycheck, and I'd look at that, and I'd be like, "Hey, there's supposed to be more than this." "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me go pull it up." Pulls out a couple $100, hands it to me, and my brain's like, I don't know if this dude's doing math. And for me, that's enough to be like, I'm out. I'm not gonna be like, well, actually, you owe me a little bit more money. I'm like, nah, here's my keys. I'm out, dude. If you're gonna be that dude, I'm this dude. Bye. So that's what happened with my last job. And so going into this next one, it's like I said, it's more of a by the books place. They you show up for your work, you do your job, they pay you for that. It's good to go. So now I should have a lot more time. That is all to say, to focus back on more on my book, to actually put down the things that I need. I have so many notes, and even old notes have extensions to them, and those have all exploded. There's so many characters that are just interacting with others. There's just a lot of things going on. So I'm really excited to get back to that, and hopefully this new career choice will allow me or facilitate my ability, even if it's like I said, even if I'm on my way to work, I shouldn't be so tired. I should be able to have that time to actually sit down and be like, okay, get this down. And so, going forward within the next couple of weeks, I expect my update to be a little bit more like fluid, to be a little bit more workable in the sense that I'm not going to be as tired, so I should be able to get as much done as I would like to get done. That's always been the big thing. It's like, I'm doing the work. I have all these stories in my head. I'm working together all these chains of events that lead into other things, but it's up until now been that issue of just being just so tired. It's just I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to survive the job and just make the money. But since that's now does shifted over into this new job, it should be a little bit better. As far as the specifics of the book, um, where do I start? I don't know. Uh, I'm really digging in on memories from my past, just working their way into the story, just situations that I've been in, and certain characters that fit those situations so well, to explore like just their personality or the part of my personality that I've inserted into them to explain kind of the passage of time. That's been fun. It's been really really cool. So that's what I'm working on right now is uh, writing those stories, just getting down isolated events that they lead into other things, or they just exist as kind of a this is who this person is, this is what they deal with, this is how they deal with those certain situations, um, and that's fun. That's really really fun. A lot of this story is autobiographical, but it fits so well into a fictional setting. A lot of my stories, like I don't know, just a lot of my past. I guess it has to do with how I tell them. It has to do with how I tell them. Absolutely, 100,000%. Um, like people are like, "Oh, you don't look as old as you look," and I have a specific story for that. I'm like, yeah, a Chinese dude came into my job when I was working 100 years ago, and he's like, "You're really skinny," and I'm like, yeah, I was eating some Chick-fil-A, and I was like, I'm trying to work on that. And he's like, no, 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 I was a doctor in China for over 50 years. People who stay skinny like you, they live a very long time. And I was like, get this burger out of my face, get out of here. I'm done, man. I want to live forever. So things like that just in my memories of them, it's just so beyond belief. A lot of people don't really take stuff like that seriously, but I kind of do. Like since that actual event happened, um, I don't know, I've had difficulty gaining weight. I've been comfortable staying skinny, and 42. I mean, I think I'm doing pretty good. Went to my new job, and they handed out a little pamphlet that was like, fill this out. Just tell people, if there's something you like, your birthday, and just, a fun fact about you. And so I wrote, no one believes how old I am. My manager, she was about to put that on the wall, and she read that, and she was like, she came back to me, she was like, how old are you? I'm like, oh, you gotta guess, right? You gotta guess. So, you know, she actually saw my birthday on the list. She was like doing the math, and I'm like, that's not fair. That's not fair. Because the other people that I've spoken to at my new job, they've been like, wait, you're how old? I'm like, 42, 42, and they're like, oh my god, how are you 42? Like one person was like, it's the hair. It's your hair. Something about your hair. You just, you get the wait, hold on. This is my work hair. Wait, hold on. Hey. I think I could do this. Maybe. Can I? It's like something. It's like something like that. Like, you got some foundation on. My pores are a lot smaller. I got the hair up. I got. Wait, hold. There you go. This is very important. This goes right through here. Bam. That's the look. And apparently that makes me look, from what has been told to me, around like 25 years old. And I'm like, Because I've always wanted to look like an old man, man. I want to be taken seriously. I want to grow like a big old beard and facial hair and stuff like that. It's not in the cards. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. I've seen what it looks like with family members that grow like facial hair, and they look absolutely ridiculous. I don't respect it in any way, shape, or form, so I refuse to do that. And so yeah, you get things like that where it just breaks people's brains. It's just like that. There's no way that's possible. And then I give the explanation of like, yeah, this Chinese dude, and then they're like, what? So, things like that just making its way into my story, and not that specific thing, but just the way I tell the stories and how they reflect into my book. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. There's one story in particular where I wrote it out, and this is almost exactly as the memory went of, I had a roommate, and she went out to go clubbing and things like that, and she came back with this other chick and this dude, and the other chick was she wasted, like literally like stumbling, and she can't even stand on her feet. Both of them were just like completely donezo. Why is homie over here walking in like he just walked fresh out the shower? Like, I'm good. Let me go up to the bedroom with these two. Just make sure they're okay. And I'm like, let me go get my gun. You sit down real quick, and I'm just gonna clean it. I'm just gonna unload it, disassemble it, and just make sure everything's okay and pack it back up, and then sit there with it while looking at this motherfucker like, I noticed that you're okay. And that's one specific story that is making its way into my book because of just how bizarre it was. Now, for my story, maybe this character will turn out to be an actually really cool dude that I do a lot of amazing, fun stuff with. He kind of redeems himself as someone that's an upright guy, but the memory itself was like, you just did something with the intention to do other things that I will literally kill you for. Like, stop. Like, I remember that dude was like, oh yeah, maybe I should go. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. You call somebody, yeah, you call your taxi. I noticed you don't have a car. What's up with your car? And he's like, oh no, I got a car. And I'm like, but you didn't drive it here today, and you seem okay. So it was that whole kind of weird situation where I was like, not under my watch, and there was other things that happened, but all the same, it seemed like the perfect fit to explain the character of a certain person in my story, to be like, this is something this is where he draws the line. This is something where he will step in and be like, this is unacceptable. And that's just character building. It's just stuff like that I found really, really fun. It has nothing to do with the story. There's nothing to do with the grand level of things, but understanding who someone is very important. And so, yeah, I mean, that's basically what I've been working on, just putting all that stuff into my story, trying to find the time for it. Love my job. My job so far is really, really cool. Everyone was very positive. Just the way corporate functions in terms of just how they manage each store is something I've never seen before. So I'm super happy with it. I'm in a really cool place. And hopefully now is going to be a reignition of the ability to write all these things down that have been in my thanks. What did I just say? All these things down that have just been floating around in my dome piece. Finally getting it actually into a written form. And being like, oh, okay, this is where it goes in my story, which is the fun part, because I've written so much now that anytime I do come up with these random just ideas that will feed into the story, before there was never really a place for it. Before it was always more of a focus of world.
I'm at 90%.
My phone just let me know that it's at 90%, which is actually pretty good. I mean, I'm not worrying about it too much, but thank you. What else? Do I have anything else to say? It's been like half a year since I've made an update, so I'm not exactly trying to make this like video last as long as possible, but I think that's really it. New characters are popping up. I refuse to talk about what their importance is in the story because, all joking aside, I don't know what their importance is in the story. Like, even the guy that I described in that whole situation where, these two chicks come over back to the house, and they're puking and stumbling all over the place, and they look like an absolute wreck. Meanwhile, homie is like, "How are you doing, good sir?" I'm like, "Get the fuck out of my house! I will kill you." So things like that. Just trying to fit that more and more in my story, which is fun. It's cool. I mean, my uncle passed away very recently, and just his character is so bigger than life. It's just so much larger than life that not incorporating that into some character in my story seems like just such a missed opportunity. I mean, this dude wrestled Andre the Giant. This dude did so many just like cool, great things that just as a little tiny bop, I could look at and be like, this dude is awesome. So obviously he's got to make his way somewhere into my story. So there's time and places for all that stuff, but only because my story has kind of filled enough that there is story. There is an idea of the progression of things, but learning more about the characters that are important in the story, I think, is redundant to say, but important. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm working on right now. That's my update after like half a year. It may not seem all that revolutionary. It doesn't seem all that different from past updates, but at the same time, just the important part is that the reason for the lack of updates over the last several months is basically that I've been working my ass off, trying to make some money, trying to gain some weight, trying to get some leverage in life. But it kind of went in a sour direction. So now it's a little bit of a restart, It's going to be more pay, less hours, but in the end, that kind of balances itself to a point where I'm not so tired where I can actually focus on my story. So that's what's going on right now. That's about it. I'm going to hit the stop button on this video ASAP because I think if I do try to talk more, I just can go into like an hour-long video, and I refuse to do that. All right? Boop.